so glad that you made the time to be here today. I really appreciate it. So as John said, one of the things that we're really focusing on is not just because we are in the middle of a shift, we know that the real estate market will shift constantly. It doesn't matter if it's a big shift or a small shift. And whatever that means is that we can't just be the agents that use only the 3 Ps, which are, I'm going to put a sign in the yard, I'm going to put it on the MLS, and then I'm going to pray that it sells or has offers within the first week. We can't be those agents any longer because the market has shifted so significantly with the interest rate changes. So a couple of the things that we're going to be talking about are, we're going to be talking about the mindset around the obstacles that we have with our buyers and our sellers. And we're also going to be practicing some conversation skills that will be able to help you earn their trust, put yourself in a collaborative relationship with these people, and not have to use sales scripts and try to pressure or push someone into making a decision. And that is the best way to have a lifelong business relationship. This isn't just the next person who's going to bring my commission check. This is the next person who could potentially bring me business over the next 5 or 10 years of my business. So that's what we're really focusing on. We're not focusing on scripts. We are going to go completely off-road. So if you have your 4-wheel drive engaged, or if you don't, you might want to engage your 4-wheel drive and make sure that you're ready to go off script with me, because we are not talking about scripts today. Yay. All right.
Yeah.
Are we tired? It sounds like we're tired of scripts.
I hate a script. Like, I don't need practice on how to talk to people. Like, I don't know.
Right. We need to actually practice.
I don't like a script.
Right. We need to practice what's called emotional intelligence. What's happening in our world right now? Tell me some of the crazy things that you guys are seeing in the news regarding the economy and everything else.
Oh, God, inflation.
Inflation, right?
Gas prices.
Gas prices.
Food prices.
Right. And what are you hearing people talk about?
Recession.
Too much money.
And what's the underlying emotion underneath all of
They're
that stuff?
upset.
Fear.
Fear.
They're
Fear.
scared.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we don't actually look past the headlines and we don't start looking into what is actually driving the conversation right now is all fear-based. Almost all.
You know, I heard on NPR this morning that they did a poll for the last year, and that the negativity around the world
Is at all-time high.
At an all-time high.
Yep, I agree. And before we delve more further into it, I want to make sure that we give our sponsor lunch an opportunity to introduce herself, and we get a chance to say thank you.
Yeah.
Come on up.
Oh, right now?
Yes.
I'm holding in my teeth. Okay. Well, my name's Bree. I work for First American Home Warranty, and you may, I'm sure most of you know who First
You
American
were
Home Warranty is.
in bold last week.
I was, yep. I sponsored Bold Lunch last week. So I was trying to go with no Chinese food, no pizza, no sandwiches. Like, okay, what can I do? Chipotle! I know, who doesn't like it? I was telling her, I was like, I feel healthy, and I always go to like these events. It's like, not, just stuff that's so bad. It's like healthy-ish, too much Chipotle, make it healthy. But so First American Home Warranty, I'm sure you've heard of us. We've been around forever. We had a rep here for about 8-9 years. She wasn't super involved in this community. She did a lot more in Solano County. So I live relatively close to here. I live in Roseville. So my whole territory is going to be Roseville, pretty much down here to Woodland, to Solano County, Davis, Solano County. So here's a resource for you guys. I won't bore you with home warranty. We're all very similar in a sense. If you use other companies, we're all very similar. But one thing that is really important is having a rep you can call if nobody cares about home warranty until there's a claim or there's an issue. So I'm always available. Call me, text me. I have 2 little kids, so sometimes if I don't answer, I'll call you back because they're probably screaming in the background or doing something crazy, jumping off, doing backflips off the couch. So yeah, if you guys ever have claims with First American, call me, please, because that's really where we can stand out. I have a service partner. He and I work as a team. That's all he does is work on my claims for me and one other rep. So he's busy, but not too busy. Just really making sure that if something goes wrong, you have somebody on your side to help you. And yeah.
So for like HVAC coverage, kind of the more important appliances like that.
Yeah.
On the contract, what amount do you recommend?
God bless you.
So we have we have 3 different plans, but the first one doesn't include HVAC. So around here, I just tell people like cross that out because that's like Bay Area reps get that all the time. Like, you're so lucky because they don't have to deal with HVAC plans. Hey, honey,
Yeah.
go to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
But so we have 2 plans. So the value plan and the premier value is $490, and that includes HVAC, but it doesn't include washer, dryer, refrigerator. So if you want washer and dryer, refrigerator, then it would be $590. I always mix those 2 up. Yeah, so it just kind of depends. No, sorry, $490, $580. See, I always mix them up.
But the $490 covers HVAC.
HVAC, yeah, that's like the most popular one, especially when agents are paying for it. They say just put $500 on there, and it's a $10 difference, and just do $490. That's the most common one. I always tell people if they're older appliances, obviously like ask your borrower, hey, do you want to put that in there because they can pay the difference up to 60 days after close.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice to have that option. So and that way it's not a liability to you, and they're not like, hey, why didn't you tell me you cover my washer, dryer, refrigerator?
So I put First American warranty on the last software rows because of the lunch problem.
Aw,
There you go.
That means so much.
Yeah.
You're all
appreciate it.
bringing
And it makes
lunches.
it even better. First American is my preferred.
I've actually seen your
So,
name
yes,
on our, and then
yeah.
I got my emails. Thank
I
you.
always go with First American.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, and happy to bring lunch. So thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Yes.
Of course. You know?
All right, so here's what we're going to be going over today. We've already talked about how right now fear is at its all-time high because there are so many obstacles in everybody's way when it comes to their own personal economy. And when it relates to home sales, that's where we need to adjust our conversation and our skill set to make sure that we're touching on the issues that really are at hand. They need us to know, or they need to know that we see what they're up against and be upfront about it. So the basics that we're going to be going over are calibrated questions. We're going to go over, and we're going to go over mirroring. We're going to go over labeling. And we're going to do a summary. And that's going to get us to a that's right. Now, when we get into this, we're going to also do a little bit of a challenge. And for those of you who are in the room with me today, I have issued a challenge that if anyone can stump me with an objection for a home buyer or a home seller, I will give you $100. So,
It's a good class.
better be thinking of your absolute hardest objection today. And there is one rule in regards to the objection. The objection cannot be a condition or a specific reason why they absolutely cannot. We are talking about motivated, capable, and willing to do so. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So, be thinking of that objection. We're going to do that at the end of this class, and if you can stump me and you can't win against me, I'll give you $100. I got the cash, believe me.
I have a feeling nobody wins. I don't even think I'm gonna attempt it.
Well, I do have to put a condition in there because, if somebody says, yeah, I'm going to take it on, but it's really a condition that they absolutely can't, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so calibrated questions, what are those? Those are open-ended questions. They usually begin in what, when, where, how. No, not why. We don't use why.
No, why?
No, I'll tell you the only reason why I use why is when I want them to defend working with me. Causes defense, right? So why is not in our calibrated questions. Don't use that one yet, okay? Calibrated questions are going to be what's important to you. So can I have a volunteer that will answer my questions and allow me an opportunity to show what calibrated questions are? And I usually only answer 2 questions per cycle of what I use. Okay, fantastic. What's your name?
My name is Brian.
Brian, I'm Brandy.
Brandy?
Nice to meet you. Brian, what are you passionate about?
Ooh, family. I have a big family, 4 little ones. So everything I do is for them.
All right. What makes you passionate about them?
I guess it's my love for them.
Your love for them? What does your love for them look like?
It looks like spending time with them, being able to provide for them, and just teaching them, growing them, and trying to raise them well.
Raise them well?
Yeah.
What's that look like?
It looks like spending a lot of time with them, and teaching them, how to be good little humans.
Good little humans?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you mean by good little humans.
Well, responsible, hardworking, responsible, hardworking, people that care about others, that love people, and ultimately for me, for them to really love Jesus, which is my biggest.
Seems like character is really important to you.
Yes, that's true.
And what's important to you about character in a person?
I think character is important because if you could live life selfishly and do whatever you want, but ultimately that doesn't bring you joy or satisfaction. I think satisfaction and joy is found in giving and loving and being people who are full of integrity and that have good character.
Sounds like it's really fulfilling for you to give to your family and create that environment where they can thrive.
Yes, that's true. I agree with that.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, what I've heard so far is really love your family to the very deepest part of your being. And you'll do anything for your family. And what's really important to you is that you're leaving a legacy behind that says, these are the people that I've raised and they're going to make a difference in the world because of how I've invested.
Yes.
Seems like I missed something though.
I don't know if you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So his nailed it was that's right. That's exactly right. So as you can see, I got him from point X of what he was passionate about, which was his family, and I got him to talking about core values. And this also let me know that as I was having a conversation with him, I could very easily do business with him because his core values align with mine. Do you see how that conversation went?
Yeah.
So this is what we're doing with our clients is we're asking them a few calibrated questions. What's important to you? What's the biggest obstacle you face? Those are the things that are going to really open up the conversation so that you can get a peek inside of their mind of the vision of what's going on in. Vision always drives decision. If they don't have a vision of actually making this happen, then they're probably not ready for you to invest time. The next part that I did was the mirrors. I repeated. It's a repetition. I know I'm spelling wrong and I'm trying to do really fast. Repetition. So repetition of 1 to 3 words that they said. And I did it a couple of times to him and he was hesitant to answer because I think that he knew what I was doing and he was hesitant to answer. When you're in a training situation, it feels a little bit different. When you practice these skills on someone else and they don't know what you're doing, you'll see them open up just like a flower blooms. So when I repeated back to you what you said yes. And then you stayed quiet. And I tried to stay quiet, but you weren't budging, so I had to ask another calibrated question. What does that look like to you? And when I said, what does that look like to you, I was really trying to get descriptive words from you.
Yeah.
Now, normally what will happen is when you're in that conversation with someone, you mirror back a phrase that they say, and you stay quiet, they'll automatically feel the need and urgency to explain themselves and fill that space, right? The next part was the labels. It seems like, it sounds like, and it looks like. Now this is all really tactical because not only if I'm in person with someone, not only am I watching the micro expressions on their face, I'm also listening to the tone that they're using. I also saw that as he started to speak about his kids, the tone in his voice was he was getting really excited. Now, I could have labeled that excitement. I didn't because I chose to go on because he was giving me at one point a really long explanation of everything that he was feeling about that. And so I had to pick out just one thing in that. Then what that ended up leading into was me going through the summary. When I went through the summary, I said, now correct me if I'm wrong. That's how I usually start my summary. And I start to tell him back all of the information that he's given to me. And when he says, yes, and then I was like, kind of gave a pause for a second because I was really looking for the that's right. He didn't give it to me. So what I'll do is if I don't get the that's right or that's exactly right, then I will actually go, it seems like I might have missed something. So I label it again.
So your point of doing this is so that you can get information.
Right, the point of doing the mirrors and the labels is information gathering. The calibrated question is a well-placed question in order to start the conversation in the direction that you're hoping and wanting to go. So what you're doing in the labeling and mirroring is you're gathering information, and then whenever you have that information, you can provide the solution. Yes?
Thank you for being here, because I read the book, Never Split the Difference.
Yes, and that's where all of these
And-
skills come from, guys.
God help me, but the labeling part, that labeling chapter, I just could not figure it out.
Okay,
Thank
so
you for that.
that's one of the things that we're going to be practicing today in groups of
Yeah,
two.
I got
so
the
you're
mirroring,
gonna
I got the calibrated, but the labeling and the summary was like,
Right, so the labeling is really based on emotional response. Whenever, and this is where you have to become very self-aware when you feel your own emotions. And then you also have to be able to read the other person and be aware of what they might be feeling. So like when they roll their eyes, or whenever they get, maybe a little grimace on their face, or perhaps when they all of a sudden burst into a big smile. Those are emotions that they're thinking and feeling inside of their body that are being expressed in their face. And when you express those emotions or label those emotions to them, what happens is neurologically, not psychologically, neurologically, what happens is they feel heard and they feel seen. And it releases endorphins in their brain that causes them to feel connected to you. Do you want people to feel more connected to you and feel like they would never want to talk to anybody else about selling real estate? Yeah. Well, this is how you're going to be able to do it, because you're creating a neurological phenomenon that's going to take you out of having to deal with scripts. What do scripts usually feel like whenever you're going through them?
Inauthentic and
Awkward.
fake.
Inauthentic and fake,
awkward.
and they feel like pressure. They feel like, and the people on the other side of it, I mean, how many of you have walked onto a car lot lately?
Oh, God.
How many of you have actually tried to go onto Zillow and put in your private information and see what kind of sales scripts that you get whenever agents call you? Have you ever tried that?
No.
Oh, no, no.
I think that if you did that, you would see what you're up against as far as the competition is concerned. Because I've done that. Yeah, because the agents that are buying leads from Zillow or Realtor.com, whenever they call, they literally sound like they're calling from a telemarketer and they're reading off of the script.
Flipping pages.
And
and
how-
reminder.
Teleprompter.
And does that make me want to hang up on them?
Yes.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. How do we get people to stay on the phone with us?
You actually engage them and you're genuine and authentic and
You engage
Interesting.
them and you allow them their autonomy. And that's exactly what this structure will do, is it allows them to exercise their free will. It allows them the opportunity to be autonomous and make decisions for themselves instead of being told what they should or shouldn't do. And the conversation, how much did you learn about me in that conversation?
About you?
Yeah.
nothing. Well, people love to talk about themselves.
Exactly.
Easy.
Exactly.
So
Now,
ask the questions.
I will give you a forewarning on this. I have found that because I practice this in every conversation in order to be really skilled at it with work, I also end up finding that people don't usually ask me the questions when they're not that interested. So sometimes I will tell you, I have felt lonely in a room full of people because I'm the one practicing these skills and nobody else is actually digging into what's about Brandy, right?
So how does Brandy feel about that?
I don't necessarily like it, so what I end up having to do is I go to a few trusted people and I say, okay, I'm feeling lonely because nobody cares about me. I'm joking, but I do have my very close group of people that I will talk to, and they both know me very much. So I will tell you that as a warning, if you're somebody who really feels like you also want to be connected with, make sure that you fill your bucket somewhere else, okay? Because this will take a lot out of you. All right, so a lot of what we were talking about as well with the labeling is called tactical empathy. Tactical empathy is where, okay, so a lot of people have a misconception about empathy. Empathy isn't always feeling the same feelings that they're feeling. It isn't having compassion for them. It isn't even agreeing with their feelings or emotions. It is simply the capability of being able to recognize them and see them. Now, if I had mislabeled an emotion that he was expressing, what do you think he would have wanted to do?
Correct.
Correct you.
He would have wanted to correct me. How much do people like to correct other people?
All the time.
When they're wrong, they're like, oh no, you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, right? So a mislabel can be just as effective as a correct label. All right, so why don't we go ahead and do this? I am going to give you guys an opportunity to practice on me. So we're just going to go around the room. We're going to go right to left. I'm going to say something, and you're going to mirror me back. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So,
Francine.
Francine, thank you. I appreciate it. We don't have name tags in here, so
I know.
I'm just like talking to a room full of
Sorry.
faces. All right, Francine, one of the things that really made me want to be in real estate was I worked in insurance before. It was a very male-dominated career, and there were times when I was told that I couldn't multi-line prospect to my clients because it wasn't my job.
So what I'm hearing is that you were in the insurance business.
I'm asking you to
Oh,
mirror
excuse
me, so use 1 to 3 words of a phrase that I said in this sentence.
So that would be, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So you're repeating back to me what I've said. Just 3 words.
Oh, just 3 words.
Just 3 words.
So just 3 words. That's
In the form of
interesting.
a question.
Oh. Yeah. This isn't easy, you guys.
No, it's not.
Um,
So I left the insurance career because it was very male dominated, and I was told at times that I could multi-line prospect to my clients to bring more business to the company because it wasn't my job.
It wasn't your job.
Thank you. I was just gonna say that. Thanks, Luke. It wasn't your job.
It's not your turn, Luke.
Yeah.
Exactly. I appreciate the help.
No, I do too.
Yeah, so
It wasn't your
exactly.
job.
What ended up happening was they only felt that women who were not fully or had 3 generations worth of family in the community were not allowed to be producers. We were only allowed to be administrative assistants and CSRs.
So women were not allowed to be producers. So how'd that make you feel?
It made me feel frustrated, and so that's one of the reasons why I left. And one of the now we're on to you. And another one of the reasons why I left was I was finding that I was limited not only in my income, but I was limited in my ability to grow, even though I was participating in Toastmasters and everything else that they could potentially offer. Now you get to mirror me back. Anything that I said in there.
Can you do it one more time?
Yeah. So another reason why I left was because my income was stifled and I also didn't have the ability to grow in my career. And even though I participated in Toastmasters, it just wasn't enough.
What would be enough?
No, repeat back what I said. You're asking me a calibrated question. Repeat back to me what I said. So you could probably even say,
Inability to grow.
yeah, and so you weren't able to grow?
Okay.
Try that.
So you weren't able to grow?
No, I wasn't, and it was so frustrating to me because I find that what's really important to me is that I'm thriving in my personal development as well as being able to become more valuable to the marketplace, because my end goal is to make more money and have a more successful income and life.
So thriving is something that's very important to you.
Yes, it is, but you're asking me.
I'm asking you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So just repeat 3 words. Thriving, so you're saying thriving is important to you. So another label that you could have said was personal growth.
Okay.
Because you could have me go even further into what personal growth looks like for me. So we're going to jump to the young lady back here. Yes, you, ma'am. Yes, you, ma'am. So now this is an opportunity for you guys to get to learn about what my core values are. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you guys all together do a summary of everything that you've learned about me. And hopefully you'll get me to the point where I say that's right. All right? So this is the exercise that we're doing. You're going to mirror, which means you're going to repeat back to me a phrase that I say in order to open up information and get more information from me. Okay? Are you ready? All right. So my personal growth is really important to me because I follow Jim Rohn and his teachings, and the more I grow and develop, the more value I bring to my marketplace, which means the more people want to work with me, which means I get paid.
I actually had something in my mind and it just went out as you continue.
I know, so hold on to that while I'm speaking, unless I say something else that you feel is important
Yeah,
to hear
just
about.
learn that, just learn that. Hang on
So-
to the first thing
Value,
pops into your head.
yeah, so value to the marketplace could be one of them.
Because I had that.
Mhm.
But
But then I
you
kept
get
talking.
going, and then my mind left that to concentrate on what you were saying, and now I can't remember.
It's a
what it
mental
was.
exercise to hold on
Yeah.
to key phrases as well as continue listening to what they're saying.
So we're mirroring in the form of a question.
Yeah, 3 words that I say in the form of a question with an upswing in the tone.
I'm swinging the tone.
Upswing in the tone. Because a command.
Nice.
Exactly, I love it. He's catching on so fast. So yes, exactly, you want to upswing the tone. Because that's a question. Otherwise, you're giving them a command or a demand, which is upswing in the tone.
I remember, I don't remember that name, but so you weren't getting more pay? Did you mention more pay or?
Exactly, because here's one of the things that's really important to me about making enough money. It's really important to me to make a certain level of money because I don't have anybody else in my world that I can rely on. I'm a single parent. I don't receive child support because the co-parent doesn't believe that I should be child support because he doesn't have full custody or whatever, who knows. That's all just a bunch of muddy water anyway. And then I really want to be able to give my daughter things that I didn't have when I was.
So, that you didn't.
Exactly. I was raised in poverty in the Midwest. My parents lived in a single wide trailer on rural property, and my clothes were handmade. There were some times where I would go to the refrigerator and I would have anything in the refrigerator that I could, and my parents, from what I understand, used to party a lot and do a lot of drugs. So now we're going to move on to this gentleman right here. Bobby, it was?
Yes.
Yes. Nice to meet you.
Didn't have anything in the fridge.
Exactly. So my parents lived below the poverty line. And even though they applied for government assistance with coupons, they didn't always use the money. And it left me feeling like I never wanted my daughter to ever feel like there wasn't something she didn't have, especially just the basic necessities.
Basic necessities. Important. Can I go again?
Yeah. So like for me, the basic necessities are being able to have plenty of food in the fridge, never having to go hungry. That if there was something that she needed for school or for clothes, she would always be able to get it. There were times when I grew up that I was always in just, hand-me-down clothes or handmade clothes because my mom sewed.
Right.
So what ended up happening was I would get made fun of a lot.
Is this all true?
Yes, it is all true.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We gotta take notes here.
We gotta get that that's right. We did the summary, we gotta get that's right. Just remember, that's the overall goal. That and it's stuff.
Exactly.
You moved me as what? Me again?
One more.
I have to repeat something there. I got distracted.
Right, so because I always showed up in hand-me-down clothes and even sometimes homemade dresses that were like not very well made, I would get made fun of a lot and bullied.
Made fun of a lot and bullied.
Yeah, now I'm gonna move on to you. Are you ready? So I used to get bullied a lot because I was raised in a community where it was either really well off or you were poor. So all of the well-off kids all clicked together, and their families were always getting together, and they were always so well dressed. And there were times when I can remember getting to school and being so proud of a new dress that my mom just made me ready, just eager to show it off. And then these rich kids would end up making fun of me, and it would break my heart, and I would start crying.
Sounds like you just wanted to be treated fairly.
You just did a label. Good job. I'm asking you to mirror me, though.
Great, good.
That was a great label. Let's do with the mirror. So let me rephrase that. Yeah. So bullying also. I'll do something else. So having been bullied, it also gives me a great amount of compassion for people who don't have as much as we do. And so it's really important to me. One of my favorite charities is called Koinonia, and it actually helps foster kids who have exited the foster care system to be able to find a job, know how to balance a checkbook, and have basic skills to know how to be a responsible citizen.
You want to contribute to the community by what you've experienced.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to move on to you. All right. So another thing that was really fun for me growing up in the country was we were on my grandpa's land, and there was an old rock quarry, and it was a decommissioned rock quarry. And one of my favorite things to do in the summer was to literally run down the hill, and it was a steep hill. I would run down the hill as fast as I could to beat everybody there, so I would be the first one in the water because I had a really high competitive spirit.
How did that competitive spirit?
You're asking me a calibrated question. Mirror me back what I just said.
Sounds like fun.
Sounds like.
Mirror,
Mirror.
repeat it.
You had a competitive attitude?
Yeah, competitive attitude.
Yes, I did, because it was, as a part of being bullied, I also with my family felt really safe, so I always felt like I could be more of myself with them. And so I always loved to play games with my cousins and my uncles to be the first, because I was always the first at everything, because I was the oldest grandkid too.
And you felt safe at home?
I did. Even though we were raised in poverty, I felt really loved by my mom. I didn't have a very good connection with my stepdad, though, because come to find out in my later years, he had some narcissistic tendencies that kind of broke down our relationship there. And my mom and we are best friends to this day.
Mm-hmm. So how did that relationship with your father affect your relationship and your competitive?
So he went back to a calibrated question, which I'm going to allow this time because I didn't give him enough to mirror. So the way that it actually helped it, so the relationship with my dad or stepdad, and after coming to realize what narcissism was or narcissistic tendencies were, it started to allow me to see where I had a lot of limiting beliefs about myself as a person, because most of what I was taught, and I'm going to go on to you, most of what I was taught was that I was never going to be good enough and that I was just a girl and that the only thing that I was ever good for was to be a pastor's wife and to raise children.
Pastor's wife?
Yeah, my family actually was very religious. I've learned to be a little bit more spiritual rather than religious. So because religion is usually man's rules, I still have a relationship with my creator. However, I don't go to church and I don't necessarily participate in those things because I used to also be a worship pastor and I saw a lot of behind the scenes that weren't all that great.
A worship?
I was a worship pastor for 10 years. And in fact, one of the things that I do now to get away from or to actually fulfill that need to sing is I'll go to karaoke. And I love karaoke.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to go on to this gentleman. And so I really love karaoke because it helps me to kind of replace that singing part of my life.
Karaoke really helps.
So repeat back what I said.
Yeah.
You love karaoke?
Yeah, that's what you love karaoke.
Yeah, I really do love karaoke. I don't know what it is about me, but I can remember one of my very first memories as a kid was I put out these towels on the floor. So I had one this way and one this way. I lined up all of my stuffed animals. I put on the record player and I pretended with my hairbrush that it was a microphone and I gave a concert to all of my stuffed animals. That was my very first memory that I can remember as a kid. So for me, singing has always been a really big part of my life.
Well, you sing is still big part of your life, I guess.
Yeah, it is still a big part of my life. Anytime that I have an opportunity, I'm going to go to the gentleman behind you. Every time I have an opportunity to go out with friends and sing at karaoke, there's something about performing in front of people that just does something for me rather than just singing in the car.
Does something for you?
Yeah, it does. I don't know how to explain it except that whenever you exercise, and you know how you feel really good because the endorphins are going through your blood, I kind of feel the same way after I perform in front of people.
Okay, you got me. I'm stumped.
Exactly.
Couldn't do it with
I didn't
the
know.
Singing with the leg.
Perform in front of people.
Exactly, there you go. So we just went pairing exercise. What we're going to do in this section is we're going to do the labeling exercise, okay? So do you guys have a handle on what the mirroring is after seeing this?
I'm assuming you don't like continue that. That's just like a part of this conversation, right? Because it feels not.
Yeah, you don't.
Organic.
You don't continue it. I was just doing it to allow it to really dig in. So this is a really granular it's a granular practice on how to practice these skills.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's why I do the repetition over and over again so that you guys start to see and hear what each other's doing, and it allows it to sink in a little bit more. All right, so here's the labeling part of it. So one of the things about performing in front of people that makes me really happy is whenever I hit the right song and everybody starts to get up and dance and everybody's having a good time, it makes me feel good because I know that I've been able to contribute to them having happy emotions. So now you can label,
So
which is it seems like.
It sounds like you just like making people happy.
I really do. I love making people happy because I want people to know that whenever they're in my presence, that they feel accepted, that they feel excited, that they feel like maybe they've come close to a fire that is really just something they gravitate to, and they can warm themselves by it. And if they get close enough, close enough friend, they might catch fire too.
Seems like you really like friendships and making connections.
Friendships are really important to me. I know what it's like to feel excluded from my past, from being bullied. I know what it feels like to be an outsider because of not being wealthy. And I also know that it can't just be me. And if I can do something to make somebody else feel better about themselves, it makes all the difference in the world to me. So now we're going to move on to Rich.
So it sounds like the pain you felt as a child really contributes to your well-being today and giving back to the people around you.
Yes, Absolutely it does. It causes me to really seek out those tools, books, personal development when it comes to really connecting with people. It makes me seek those things out because I want to be the kind of person that whenever I leave this world, people felt loved and accepted, and that I made some kind of.
So it seems like you'll use any resource to gather knowledge and help yourself become a better person, so you are that person that you may have lacked as a child.
Yes, exactly. If you were to have seen me even 3 years ago, I am not the same person today that I was back then. And it's because I've done the hard work, the really gritty soul, emotional work, and self-aware work to be able to know how I'm feeling and what is important to me about those emotional messages that I receive. Back to the
Oh, I had a good one.
You always do.
And the funny thing is, when I use this with people, they literally feel like, I feel like this because they feel seen. All right, so as I was saying, I've done a lot of the really hard work, and the hard work was really on me because it's hard to change oneself, let alone try to change somebody else. So I've chosen to focus on the things that I can control, which are primarily me and what I respond to.
So you like to control yourself to help other people be better?
It sounds like it, seems like it, like. And then say what you were going to say.
It seems like, now I forgot what I said.
It's okay.
It seems
It's
like
okay.
you like to be more in control of yourself to help others be better?
Yes, that is correct. Because I've realized that out of everything in the world that is happening around me, the one thing I can control is me, my own.
It sounds like you control yourself a lot easier than everyone.
No, I don't. I still lose it. I still lose my temper. I mean, like when the cat decides to go to the bathroom in its in its little kennel overnight, and I have to clean that before I come and speak to a bunch of people. It doesn't start my day off right. So I still have that stuff that goes on. I can't control the cat, but I can control how I respond to the cat. Go ahead.
It sounds like you can't control your cat, but you can control how you react towards what the cat has done.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I didn't do a good job of it this morning because I was cursing up a storm. I literally had to grab the cat by the scruff. And I'm telling you guys, these things are true, okay? I had to grab the cat by the scruff before it decided to wipe itself all over my carpet because it was all over the bottom side, and she didn't like that. She hates it, so I had to go run her under the sink to rinse her off.
Oh.
And I was already running late for my day, and so when I jumped onto my group coaching call this morning, I had a really hard time putting on a happy face because I was really pissed.
It sounds like you started your morning off not great.
Yeah, it didn't start off great. And at the same time, though, because I'm here with you guys, I'm really feeling like my day is going to turn out to be something. All right.
Good work.
Now we're going to work on summaries. And you guys all get to help these guys
Oh, I can do that.
with the summary, okay? All right, so now your summary should start off with something like, correct me if I'm wrong, or, or let's see.
Here's the bottom line.
Here's the bottom line, yeah. Here's what I gathered. Here's what I learned. Correct me if I'm wrong, something like that. So you can start it off as that kind of transition.
Correct me if I'm wrong. From what I gather from our conversation, you are somebody who care deeply for other people, who wants to be impactful in others' lives, and who's also very self-aware of your actions. Even though you're not perfect, like the story you told about the cat, you were aware of it, and it sounds like you always wanted to be growing as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Dang.
wow.
Rockstar champion over here. Are you ready? You want to give it a shot?
What he said.
Just follow him. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like you went through a lot of trials and hardships, like making sure that you're a better person, so other people around you be better by helping them not experience what you experienced in the past.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, good job.
There's no Q&A, guys.
You want to give it a shot?
Correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds as if you went into a marriage not ready for it.
What?
Sounds like I went into a marriage that what?
That you wasn't ready.
Yes, actually, I can say that is right, because I went from one narcissistic person to another one, and it caused a lot of deep emotional damage to myself. So yes, I would say that you were correct in saying that. Yeah. All right, lady in the black. So summarize everything that you've heard me say over the conversations over here.
I don't like the word correct if I'm wrong. It just sounds, can you give me another option?
What would you feel most comfortable saying?
What I've heard you say,
There you go. Use it, yeah.
what I've heard you say so far. I want to add some other stuff. It's not, that doesn't have focus. Sounds great. I want to add a compliment, but I'm struggling. It's not the compliment.
So just summarize everything that you've learned about me.
What I've heard you say had a challenge, and that you have a soft spot for who've been bullied and that you've done a lot of hard work to have insight into and a self that you've grown through, and that you bring that into your business life and hope.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, good job.
You guys were listening. 4 for 4. Now we've got 2 more, and then we're going to go to the bonus round, which is you guys are going to give me the hardest objections you can, okay? And we're going to work through those. All right, so summary.
What I've heard you say, even though you've had a challenging time in your upbringing, that you felt well loved, and that you even enjoyed singing to the teddy bears,
Yeah.
and that took you into loving karaoke, loving to sing, and loving to help other people.
Yeah, that's right.
Bam.
Damn.
5 for 5.
Great job.
All right, you ready? Give it your best shot. Hit me with your best shot.
Yeah.
There it is.
So based on what I've gathered, that through your tough childhood and upbringing, you found a way to use your trauma, pain, and you flipped it into a way to help you find your passion and wanting it to be better, and even impactful opinion on people that you come in contact with.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Good job.
You guys are amazing. Now you guys had the hardest job.
Yeah, because where's you?
And then you guys had the second hardest job. So you guys deserve a big round of applause. Come on. All right. I appreciate all of you being here. So now this is going to be your opportunity. We're going to talk about a little bit. So what are your biggest struggles and obstacles in your conversations with your sellers and your buyers right now? Now, I know what mine are, and I'll give you a recap of mine. If mine don't match yours, then you can tell me what yours are. So my buyers right now are having a hard time, especially if they're first-time home buyers or have maybe not bought a house in a long time. They are facing the fact that their budget is completely out of control. Inflation has increased, gas prices, food, retail services, everything else has increased. And now they're also facing rent increases and their wages aren't coming up. So they're not sure, they're in a situation where maybe their reserves are starting to get eaten up because they don't have enough income. So I know what my response to that situation is that if there is one thing that we can control in this whole situation, it is the biggest one. What is the biggest one? Your budget.
The rent, your housing.
Your housing and your shelter. Your housing and your shelter is the biggest chunk of your monthly budget. What would it do for you if you were able to stabilize that, even if everything else went?
That's called budgeting.
Exactly. So that's where we're getting into the conversation of how to pivot during the shift of being able to address problem head on, which is maybe we shouldn't wait, because if we can control the biggest part of our budget right now, and we have the capability of doing so, then it makes sense that we should. And this is helping them to step off of a fence of motivation. You're motivating them financially for their future.
What about it?
And alleviating issues that are happening right now. It's okay, Ms. Francie.
Sorry. What if they're living with parents?
If they're living with parents and they don't have a budget,
No, they do have a budget, they're living with their parents, they've saved this money. Now the interest rates have risen to where it has now put them out of their comfort zone. I say comfort zone because that's what it is. Comfort zone to now purchase.
right?
And they're scared to death that if I buy now, the interest rate's gonna go down, Francine, so I'm just gonna wait.
You can,
Exactly.
You can refi after 6 months to a year.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's what I showed them, so.
So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Sellers, here's the biggest thing that I'm hearing from sellers is we don't want to have to give up our low interest rate on a home that, even though it's not best suited to our needs anymore, we don't want to give up that interest rate because it's going to cause our budget to have to expand, and we like our lifestyle.
Should work another job.
How about you come and sell real estate with me?
How about buy down there?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a couple of solutions in regards to that, right? One of the solutions is when we're talking about people who might be living at home, what's the need to purchase a home? Where's the need? Our job is to actually find the motivated of the motivated. If they don't need to buy a home right now, should we really be talking to them?
No.
It's not a need for them, they want to because they cannot stand for parents.
Okay, that's the need.
That's the need.
That's the M word.
That's their why.
Motivation. Motivation, yeah.
Yeah, in the LP Mama, that's the motivation. And
Psychological motivation.
exactly. So now what you need to do is you need to tap into the vision that's in their head of what it's going to look like if they leave that toxic situation or stressful situation, and have peace in their lives. And then you also have to have them paint the vision in their heads of what it looks like. What if you stay? So you have to get that. That's the calibrated question.
I've met the parents.
Right, this is the calibrated question. You are measuring pleasure versus pain. What will people run away from? They'll run away from pain. So even though they're looking at the pain of an interest rate, is the pain of staying in a stressful and a friction environment worth them not moving out? What's it doing to their relationship between the two of them? This is where you get into the therapist.
Yeah, the other half.
Kind of talk. Yeah, that's the other half. So you're obviously in a stressful situation. What is this causing between the two of you? Yeah.
Yeah, don't you want to still love your mom in 90 days?
Yeah.
Yeah. Relationships and stress in relationships can either be alleviated or they can actually be exacerbated by purchasing real estate. I had clients that I had no idea were having a tough time, and they presented to me in front of me like everything was fine. We got to the point where we wrote an offer on the house and we had a counter offer and they responded. I was like, guys, what's going on? The next day, he texts me and he says, sorry, but we're getting divorced.
Wow.
And the straw on the hat, or the camel's back, was buying the house.
Buying a house.
Seller.
It was buying the house because everything in the relationship itself wasn't solid. So
And that stress.
Yeah.
So look at it from their point of view. We have to see it from their point of view. What are they up against? Which is, and I'll actually ask the question for a younger couple. How's everything going in your relationship? You're adding a lot of stress to your relationship by buying a house.
That's good.
Are you guys having any thoughts whatsoever about whether or not you should stay together? I'll ask them these questions. I will. Because the last thing I need to be doing is spending 6 months showing them houses and then write an offer and then they cancel because, oh, we're getting divorced. It takes a lot of forethought in this business.
Did that ever happen? Or you just did?
It did.
Yeah.
Yep, it did.
Crazy.
Yep.
Never lost a deal that way before.
Yeah. I actually fired a client because I was out with a married couple and she texted me one time and she said, why are there pictures of you on my husband's phone? I was like, what are you talking about?
Uh-oh.
He was taking pictures of me while we were at showings.
What? Were you like, I have no
I have no
idea?
idea. And so I asked her if she could, sneak a photo to show me what it was. And I was like, we were there together. That was at that house. I was wearing that dress that day.
They weren't healthy.
They weren't selfies. So I said, I'm sorry. I feel like that this is a situation that I am not best suited to be in. So I think I can refer you to a different agent. Would you prefer a male agent?
Oh my God, yeah.
These things happen. So it takes a lot of, you have to be very, very emotionally intelligent, paying attention to people's actions, words, tones towards each other in order to really figure out what's going on. Now, there are some other, there's another,
Sounds like that may have crossed the boundary for you.
oh, it did. Oh, it did.
Sounds like you made the right choice.
Yeah. So what are you guys hearing from your conversations, objections? We all know, so here's where I'm at. All the buyers that had previously been qualified at lower interest rates, now that they're at 5.7, 5.75, 6, I'm actually saying, you know what? They're done. They don't want to move forward. So I've put them all to the side. They've gone back into my pipeline. And now what I'm doing is I'm working towards finding those people who didn't have the experience of having interest rates raised. And I'm working with motivated people, buyers, that don't know any different and how they need to buy. So that's where your shift in your business is going to happen, and you're probably going to see that change. You might see a little bit of a lull in your business.
How are you finding them, Brandon?
Internet leads mostly, internet. I'm also on TikTok. So yeah.
Now you do a lot of videos.
I do a lot of videos. I've actually started to morph some of them into my coaching videos that are more geared towards realtors. So I spend more of my time, instead of putting the slogans out there, marry the house and date the rate, which I think is BS. I don't use those type of slogans. I stick to what happens in a transaction, and here are the experiences that I have with people in my conversations with people and helping them through transactions. And here's what to avoid, and here's, what to do and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean,
Stuff
really,
like that?
shouldn't it be,
Yeah.
if you're having that conversation with the buyers, well, I want to wait for X amount of months to have my down payment, whatever it is, that full 20%, you don't need it. People are worried about the interest rate, but shouldn't it be more, are you comfortable with this payment?
Precisely. So the conversation morphs into a situation where we're not talking about the interest rate or the house price. What we're talking about is, how long do you intend to be in the home? Are you going to be in the home for a minimum of 5 years or more? What's your plan for the home? If you plan on being in the home for 5 years or more, And even with this interest rate, if you can afford this monthly payment for the next 5 years and potentially gain equity at 4 to 5% for the next 5 years, would it be unreasonable to consider the possibility of purchasing now rather than later?
I've used that, by the way,
Me
from the
too.
previous class, the would it be unreasonable line.
I love getting to know. No is one of my favorite words now. So that's what we're talking about is mortgage payment sustainability and length of time and need. What's really motivating the need for them to purchase? And then again, we've got the sellers. So here's another thing for you guys to think. Instead of doing price decreases, what are we doing?
Price improvements.
Price
No.
improvement. No,
Buying down the
Credit.
rates.
buy down the rate.
Buy down the rate.
Offering credits
or
to buy
for
down
down
the rate.
payment, or for
Closing
closing
costs.
costs.
Has
You
anybody
choose.
thought about having your sellers that have an FHA or VA loan advertising to people who can actually assume the loan if they have plenty of cash for a down payment?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Wait, what?
That's brilliant.
If you have a VA buyer and a VA seller, and the VA seller has a 3.25% interest rate, the VA buyer has like $300,000 cash and they're qualified at like 6%, what do you think makes more sense? For them to assume the VA loan and pay the $300,000?
Never
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
This.
being-
yeah.
This is the first time I'm hearing
Being-
about
So-
this.
Yeah.
So if they
You're buying-
assume the loan, I'm sorry, Rich, you probably know, go ahead.
No.
She had a question, so you want to answer it? Yeah.
If they
Sounds like-
assume the loan, how do they go about that where it transfers one to the other?
Yeah, so you have to apply with the current
Through the
loan
lender,
servicer.
through the lender.
So if it's with Penny Mac or whatever, you
Yeah.
go to Penny Mac and say, hey, I'm looking to assume.
And it's probably going to take longer.
Yeah, 60 to 90
So
days.
send us your packet. We have a buyer who wants to be approved to assume the loan.
Okay.
With some, you could just pay their
Can't do it
mortgage.
with
You could do,
conventional.
you could do a wrap as well. Where you
Yeah,
just go
I
on
want that.
title and then you're paying their mortgage.
The wraparound.
Yeah, but
More,
then
that's more
The
like,
reacher.
you have to be careful though, because that do-on clause, if that ever gets triggered, then it puts everybody in a bad situation.
that's why-
So I prefer the loan assumption and just do it clean cut, because you don't want to have somebody on title and have the buyer or the seller still responsible.
yeah. I think it's more
If the
common.
buyer
for-
doesn't make the
too
payments,
risky.
then it's too risky for the seller.
With a wraparound, the seller's still responsible.
Yeah, they're still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, seller's still
Well, their
responsible.
It's like
name,
seller
their name is on the
financing.
loan. but
Yeah.
You go on title, paying their, it's more common in like investment properties.
Exactly.
And VA, like, I think they're one of the few that has like that assumed.
They do, VA, but
Clause.
only with the VA approved buyer, so they have to be
Yeah.
active or better.
Why would
right?
they approve that? Rates are double.
You don't want to lose the loan, right? You just keep the.
Yeah, because
incurring
That
interest.
keeps the loan being serviced
Getting
by
that
them,
interest.
so they still have
You're
motivation.
keeping that interest over longevity.
Yeah.
of the lifetime.
That makes sense. Because otherwise it's paid off, and then who knows who the next servicer
They're having
is.
to pay you $200,000 now or $380,000.
Does FHA do the same thing? But I mean, in theory, like, aren't they losing money almost on those old loans?
Well, if they get paid off, if you pay off the loan, it's done right there, whatever.
And they lose all of the
They lose
future
it.
income from the interest, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
We want to keep good loans on the books
Yeah.
at lower interest rates. And that is definitely a tool that will be able to help your seller market the house to specific types of buyers. Conventional, you can't. But FHA and VA, you can. It's going to take longer. So your seller has to be educated on the process and make sure that they know if you do decide to take an offer that has an assumption of loan included in it, that it might take 60 to 70 days to get it fully done. Do
Right.
we have that time frame? And if the sellers don't, then you have to go the traditional route.
Because you're not working with a local lender, you're working with a.
Right. And what is that going to do for the consumer in their eyes? If we are helping buyers get into a home with a lower interest rate by using creative methods, it shows that we actually care about our community. We're not just looking at, okay, we just need a new loan and we need we're just doing this for the commission check. So let's do everything possible for our buyers and our sellers' fiduciary interests.
Now, keep in mind, you'll have to have that down payment. If the loan, if the house is worth $350, if they only owe $260, you'll have to have that $90,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to have the
Have
cash.
that gap.
Yeah. have to have the cash.
It's not just like, hey, let me just take over your mortgage there,
So
Rich.
that's a very specific.
Yeah,
scenario.
and you're not walking away with any cash or
Yeah,
what the
yeah,
house
that's
is
not
worth,
gonna happen.
right, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, so it has to be very well thought out.
specific.
Very well thought out. All right, are you guys ready? Do you want to take the time to do the objections?
I feel like
Throw them at
Rich is
me.
gonna have a good one.
What are you talking about?
One of the objections. I feel like you would have, I don't know, I feel like you're good at that.
Yeah. So I remember
Is
the
that the pressure
condition
now?
is-
Sorry.
The one rule in this contest is that it cannot be a condition, meaning they are not capable of doing so. It has to be ready, willing, able, motivated by.
Yeah, I wanted to see what somebody else has. I'm gonna be.
Have you guys
Is
been
it
prospecting?
Buyer, seller, and investor?
Yeah, we can do investor too, sure. Investors are not so easy because they're not always motivated. They have plenty of cash they can sit on. So I'm really looking for the very motivated. Yeah?
I think I just saw some stats that prices decreased about 2.5 or 3%. I think I'm gonna wait and see how this all shakes out in the next few.
Mhm. What was causing you to feel like you needed to buy?
I was looking for a bigger house for our family since we just had another kid and running out of room.
Running out of room?
Yeah. I have small closets
I love you guys.
living in an old house and just kind of some more storage space for little people.
That sounds like your house, Bob.
Yeah.
Literally your situation.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're still comfortable and don't really have to.
That's correct, yeah.
So then I think the best decision is in your best interest. I think you should wait until you figure out whether or not it's a good or bad time. Until you start to feel it.
Yeah, I think waiting for the market to settle down and kind of just see things how they play out makes more sense.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. You know, you're starting to feel the tiny little feelings of like we're starting to be uncomfortable in our house. How uncomfortable would it make you feel if interest rates were to go up even another 1 to 2% and home values weren't decreased by more than 5%? What would that do for your monthly budget? Would you then be able to afford another home? Because your plan was to keep this house as a rental, or has that changed?
No, I was gonna sell it and buy another.
So then you could potentially buy down your rate?
Yeah, temporarily, I suppose that could work.
Okay. So if you're not really feeling the need to sell your house and buy another one, then I think you're right. You should wait.
I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. My job isn't to convince you of anything otherwise.
Right.
But
Given information.
he already agreed that and was thinking about it, that he can buy down the rate. Shouldn't you follow up and say, well, okay, here's what you did.
Let's look at our options here.
Yeah, we can still do that, but he's already set on the fact that he doesn't want to buy right now. He wants to see what happens.
We could be.
So I'm
Get the right house in front of me, yeah. I'll buy it.
right. But see, the thing is he's sitting there going, I don't need to buy. And there's the condition. If you needed to buy,
Right.
then we would go down the rule of, or the list of the options of what you could do to make it happen right now.
I think with that thought process, like in reality, how many of our buyers need to buy? It's probably like when you get down to the nitty gritty, like people relocating, I guess. But even then,
Yeah.
they can rent, right?
I don't know. It's really hard to find a rental right now. I have people from Colorado and North Dakota who are moving in, and they said that they ended up having to compete against 23 and 60
Right.
rental applications. And they finally ended up having to go with, look, we'll pay you $500 more a month just so that we can get a rental.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of people are leaving the buying pool, so they're gonna go rent. There's gonna be
Yeah.
going in there.
But that's the benefit to the buyers that are actually in the market then, because it's less competitive.
Right. So let's also talk about the situation of how far along the road are we? Have you been pre-approved? Have you also established that you have to sell the house in order to buy the So let's set up that backstory when we're doing these objections so that we know what we're really.
Right.
Know what I mean? Yeah, so in that situation, how far along the road were we?
I've been pre-approved,
Okay,
and we've been looking around at houses.
have
open
we had a
houses.
conversation yet before you got pre-approved?
We have not.
Okay, exactly, all right. So you've already been pre-approved and now what you're doing is you're doing your due diligence and shopping agents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Checking out some open houses, getting my feelers out, talking to people, getting a feel for what different agents are saying about the market.
Right, and
Because
so,
everybody's got the same message.
so do you think that that was just a brush off because we were not making a good connection?
No.
A brush off objection? Or was that the true objection? I'm gonna wait to see what happens with the settles down.
No, it's a true objection.
All right, you have to be able to distinguish those. If they're just brushing you off because they've already got their favorite agent already picked out, they're just gonna brush you off and tell you an excuse,
Right.
right?
So we just straight up call him? and be like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
you asked them that.
Are you brushing me
So
off,
what
bro?"
I'm hearing is, I'm agent.
Do you ever call her that out?
Raise your spidey senses.
Yeah, actually I do.
Classy
I do.
way?
So if he had not just given me the objection, but we had the whole conversation leading up to that objection, I would have been able to find out more of that foundation information. And I would have eventually said, so it sounds like you're doing a lot of due diligence, making sure that you have the right agent out. And he would have been, like, he's nodding his head now, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Good, out of all of the agents that you talked to so far, if you had to pick one today, who would it be?
Really like Rich Gibbons. He's
God, yeah, right.
great smile and personality at the open house.
It's the dude.
Sounds like he has a lot of charisma, and what about his experience?
I don't know about he had me at the
Rich, you're blushing.
No, my beard's red.
Oh my goodness, I adore you guys. This is good conversation. Are you learning something
Yes.
from this? Are you taking away anything?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So, say like the potential person that kind of talking to you, and like you said, you asked him like, oh, well, you asked him did you ask him what he was waiting on, like where the market goes, and is it because of interest rates, or is it, if he thinks like the market's gonna go down, then with him saying, you asked him if he was planning on selling it, he said yes, would you ever ask, like, well, have you thought about taking high, just, higher rental, or?
It depends on what the pre-approval conversation is. Because if his debt to income does not qualify him to purchase another house, even while renting out the other house, that's going to be the determining factor. That's a condition, the pre-approval condition. So if the lender has reviewed the file in complete file, not a partial qualification. We're talking, has he looked at his credit report? Has he provided income documentation? Have they verified assets? Then given a pre-approval. If that has happened and the lender says they have to sell the house, then yes. Here's another thing. People refinancing their houses to get cash out for a down payment. If you're not careful and they don't list the home before you close on the other house, you're committing mortgage fraud. Be really careful. Don't advise your clients to go refinance the house and then, oh, you can still keep the house and go buy another one with the equity you just pulled out. You can't do that because you just committed mortgage fraud. You have to live in the other house for at least a year. I've had a lender actually do this to one of my clients. A lender told them, go ahead and refinance, and then you can take that money as a down payment and go buy your other house and you don't have to sell your house. They're like, great, we can just rent the house out. But because they just refinanced within that 1 year period.
It has to be their primary residence.
Exactly.
Is that the same for HELOCs too?
No, HELOCs are different.
You have intention, right? I intended on doing this. Boom! There goes that house that I wanted. I'm in.
Yeah?
So it's kind
Is
of.
intention the rule?
Oh yeah, when
Or
you
is it
sign your
reality?
mortgage document,
Primary residence or
it
not?
does say like, you know,
Yeah.
just like an
The
FHA.
intention is, this is my primary home,
Yeah.
and I intend to live in it for a year.
But if that changes, is that mortgage fraud, even though their intention was the same?
You got.
I don't think any.
It's like a FHA
It's
owner
relevant.
occupied, right? I intended on living here.
I mean,
And then
intent
I got married.
is arbitrary.
Or I got whatever. I got a new job, or I got this and that.
I bought this
Yeah,
flip house that I
but
love.
here's the catch up. Here's where the roadblock happened. I like ketchup on my fries, yeah.
Put it on a corn dog. That weird?
No,
What kind
Yeah.
of corn dog? Vegan corn dog? We're talking about.
you gross.
Meat free.
Right, but here's the roadblock that happened. They
Fire
they refinanced the current home. Then a month later, they went out and got into contract on another home. Well, the new lender wouldn't give the clear to close because they didn't have the previous home listed. They just refinanced it. It was already on records. So they couldn't even close on the new home. So that's
So
where the
did it
roadblock is.
Fall apart?
Well, yeah.
No, they listed the house.
One thing I'll kind of add on like the objections, like for my scenario, and then you mentioned it earlier, and we talked about, do you intend on staying at that next house for like 5 years or 7 years? If I'm selling a house and I'm looking to a bigger one, like when we're looking at real estate, it's not a short-term, investment, and we're living there for X amount of years. And in reality, like the trajectory of real estate is likely going to go up.
Right,
And
because
we could have this little dip, and whatever it's going to be.
yeah,
And it's finding comfort with the house. And right now, a big thing is like, you're going to have more options. Like, I want a bigger house and a bigger yard. Well, you might have to pay a little more for X amount of months to have what you want.
But it's not gonna be forever.
It's not going to,
right, and
or it will be forever, and prices are going to continue to go up.
And then you got a deal
how many
in
times?
the
And
end.
asking people, right? Like, how
You
many?
don't
How
know
many?
until it
How long have
happens.
you owned the house that you're in? 5, 7 years. Okay, how many times did you refinance? Like in reality, everyone's refinanced
Everybody.
like 3, 4, 5. Who knows how many times? So just like let people
Refinance
kind
once,
of
Bob. I refinanced once.
just one.
Just once.
Well, I've been
Yeah.
in my house.
So-
now.
How long have you been in your house?
so look, this is the trajectory of real estate over time. These are the cycles. It goes up, it comes down, goes up, it comes down, but it's always on an upward trajectory. So do you see where that happens, where your equity keeps going up? It depends on what point in time you actually sell it.
It's a
Right.
good graph for like your buyer's presentations, right?
Exactly.
Boom, right here. Like,
Yeah.
look, this is what we're doing.
Here's the comparison
I
that I
didn't use
usually
this on the
make.
listing.
So you say that you need a bigger home, and that means you also are going to be paying for better amenities in your new home.
Correct.
Right. So if you stay in your current home and you were to go out and apply for the memberships that you need for the amenities that your new home is going to provide you, with that current mortgage payment and the cost of those new amenities, how much does that cost right now? Does that equal to or close to? Because if you can actually have the privatized amenities rather than the public amenities, what would that do to benefit you and your family?
Right. Right. Yeah, just package it all up and
Yeah.
make the payment almost equal.
Yeah. So yeah, it is going to cost more, but it would cost about the same, maybe a little less, if you did that same thing with this current house, but you had to outsource it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, figuring out like, okay, this is gonna cost more. Are you willing to pay $400 more if it's a sell-by scenario to get a bigger house, to get a bigger yard? Like, you gotta pay for it at the end.
Right.
I just want a new neighbor, Bob.
Well, we're gonna refinance your house. And
Right.
tell them you're gonna.
I'm not refinancing, Bob.
So the lady in the turquoise shirt, back in the back, you had a question earlier.
Oh, it got in.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. That's what I like about these collaborative classes, is that we all get to answer each other's questions. All right, is there anything else, any other objections you wanted to throw at me that we could work towards, or are we gonna put a stop to this and you can get
So
started?
I actually do have one, so I have fire. Okay.
Let's so set the foundation for the background of the objection.
Okay.
I got one.
Summarize.
She is a single mom
Like me? Okay,
and she's currently renting.
okay,
she lets her mom make the decision on what she can and cannot buy.
Oh, I know this.
Even though she's the one who's gonna be paying the mortgage and is the one that has the down payment.
Does mom live with her?
What, Andy?
And mom says no, it's not the right time to buy.
And mom says no, or it's too small. Yeah. But she's still looking.
Helen, I never asked you this question. Is it because the mom wants to move in with her?
Nope.
Okay.
Mom owns her own place.
Mom's just jealous.
Mom's just picky?
Mom is jealous.
Mom is jealous.
Jealous?
So let's have this conversation.
Mom have told us you will never be anything, you will never amount to anything. That's what mom have told her. And mom is trying to keep that going.
Come on, sir.
Yeah.
Amen, brother.
So, I kind of want to revisit your motivation for wanting to buy a home.
Okay.
Last time we talked, you said that it was really important for you to take control of your budget. Somebody's phone going off? It was distracting,
What was
sorry.
that?
I don't know what it was. I don't know. So you said that you really wanted to take control of your budget because you know rents keep going up and gas costs, it's making it harder for you to budget things. And is there any way, shape, or form that that has changed at all? We're role playing.
I'm like, I'm
We are-
totally like all
We are
into
role
it.
playing now, yeah.
No.
Okay, so that has not changed. And confirm with me again, what is really important to you about controlling your budget?
To make sure.
Have you asked these questions?
Yeah. Oh.
What is really important to you about controlling that budget? Because you don't know because you haven't asked her, have you?
No, well, no, I've asked her if her down payment is still the same or if it's got, bigger, those sort of things like that.
That's
but
a
not
we're not talking
controlling
about,
her own
we're not talking
budget.
about technicalities of budget. We're talking about what's the motivation around budget.
For the house or just?
For her to buy a house.
Oh,
What's the
okay.
motivation for her to buy a house? And so far I asked, so
Got it.
has your goal for controlling your budget changed?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's important to you about controlling your budget?
It'll be easier for me to own my own place, so my rent is not going up.
Mm-hmm. So it also sounds like we've had a little bit of kind of maybe some friction with your mom, that she says that it's not the right time and you're still feeling the desire to want to purchase. What does that look like right now between you and your mom?
The relationship is good.
The relationship is good and your mom is keeping you from obtaining something that's really important to you?
How do you say that?
I
Just
said
like
it.
that. Just like
You
that.
said it and it wasn't even in an offensive way either, to make her be defensive.
It's out of curiosity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your mom is keeping you from obtaining something that's really important to you.
Okay.
It's all in the tone.
Right. Okay. I mean, yeah.
And then that's what's gonna happen is she's gonna say, well, this is what my mom said. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, what's important to you about what she says?
Well, she's my mom, I want to respect her.
Right, so.
Right. I
Right.
mean,
And I get that, So, so you want to respect your mom, and are you in a position where your mom is respected at the same time? I'm disqualifying you as a buyer right now. Because you're telling me you don't have a backbone enough to stand up to your mom, you don't have a backbone enough to actually buy your own home.
You gotta answer your own goddamn house.
Weird.
I'm disqualifying her.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to convince her to buy a home. I'm disqualifying her because I can go spend my time working with someone who's ready to
Yeah,
buy
you're
a
wasting
home
your time.
right now.
Got it.
So let me know when you have decided you're ready.
Right. So when your mom isn't controlling your decisions, come back to me
Would you
and we
legit
will
say
make this
that?
happen. Yes.
We'll help you control your budget on your.
I would too.
Yeah,
I would, Brandy, I would too.
I do. Because
And she probably needs to hear
she
it
needs
too.
to hear it.
She,
Somebody's not telling her.
She's being placated right now.
Yeah, that's
oh,
weird.
listen to your mom. You don't want to mess up the relationship with your mom. And probably on the mom's side, what's happening is she's going, you know, you really should listen to me because I always know what's best for you. And I already know that this is not the right market for you to buy in because look at the interest rates and it's just too unaffordable. And she's filling her head with all of these doubts so that she can't make her own decision.
Well, and I had her in place in December last year. And her mom walked in and said, oh my gosh, look at how small the living room. Oh, and the kitchen, and you have really no backyard.
Are you living here? Shut up.
And, you know, and I was being.
And mom ruined it, so
And
then it
mom
caused
ruined
her
it.
to say, oh my gosh, my mom's right.
Yeah,
So
well,
here's what you're experiencing right now is you're experiencing a toxic relationship between a mom and a
Yeah.
daughter and she
Dream
cannot make her own
crusher.
decision. Yeah. So
Here's my
mom
therapist
is
phone
mom
number.
is a control freak and daughter can't make her own decisions. So right now your best bet is to say, look, I know that you want to do this and you're going to have to understand that you need to put your mom's feelings to the side and you need to do what's best for you.
no,
If you decide that it would be in your best interest to please your mom, then you won't buy a house right now.
can we put the mom in place? And I was, I was saying, you know, you have that couple, mom, dad, anybody, all this is that. You whisper in the mom's
The
ear.
daughter is my client, the mom is not.
Right.
I don't care if I offend the mom.
No, that's right. That's
I
what
will
I'm saying.
And I
actually,
did.
yeah,
I
and I will do it
honestly,
in front of the daughter,
Oh.
and I will tell the mom, look, this is your daughter's financial decision. I am working in a fiduciary responsibility to your daughter. Your opinion about what your daughter's choice is doesn't matter right now.
Well, but in that.
And if you don't support your daughter, then I'd ask you to leave.
In that minute. So, but here's the way to put mom in place. Here's the way to put mom in place. You whisper. No, I'm serious. I'm very serious. Listen to this. It works. It works. You whisper in mom's ear. I would hate to be in your position if you tell your daughter not to get this house and it's something she really loves. Or you tell your daughter to get this house and it's not something she really wants and leave it. Don't say nothing else. You will put mom in her place.
Yeah, some people are more tactful than me.
Well,
I'll say.
and
Yeah,
I
some people are
did,
more
when
tactful than
she said that at that point in time, you know, I did say to her, you know, I am actually looking out for Cameo's best interest right now.
Mhm.
I was like, this is a good purchase for her. It's in a gated community. Yes, she is going to be paying HOAs, but she doesn't have to do the own lawn herself. She doesn't have to pay for anything on, you know,
She
pay
doesn't
for
have a lawn
any
mowing, so.
stuff
So
on the
here's what I
outside.
probably would have done in a more tactful way. I mean, I get really heated because what I'm hearing is I'm hearing a narcissistic parent keeping their child from achieving.
Holding them down. Just holding them
Right, so
down.
that's what I'm hearing, and I get fired up about it because of my own experience.
Yeah.
So here's how I would tactfully handle that situation with mom. What's so important to you about keeping her from buying her own home and having her own place?
That's a good one.
What's important to you about keeping her from doing this?
Bam.
Okay.
Bam!
All right, I want to try an objection.
She hasn't
Okay.
Knew it.
shown up to
Do it.
when
Yeah.
when she does
Knew you
show
had
up with Cameo when I'm showing homes, she does not get out of the car. She stays. In
She
the
won't
car.
go in and look at
She
the house.
will not go in now.
Brandy called it with the narcissism.
Because I said that to her at that time when she
Every step of
This
the
client
way,
is
she's
not
showing
worth
her
it.
disapproval for her child,
right.
and it's not allowing the child to move forward.
Does mom own a home?
her daughter is going to have to realize what her mom is doing, but she probably doesn't because she's been trained to be so codependent and so much of a people pleaser that you probably won't be able to make anything happen out of that situation.
She needs a man.
No, Rich, she sure as shit doesn't need a man, Rich. That's the wrong thing to say, bud. Hold on, Rich, do you want to rephrase what you just said?
Yeah. Man was short for backbone. That's what I want to try an objection.
All right.
Yes, we want Rich's objection.
This is the last one.
No, I'm not going to make it complicated. I'm not going to make it complicated.
I'm just curious, is the mom on the
No.
Guys, we're going to face this one. We're going to face this one. John.
She should be quiet, because she does not have any financial gain in it whatsoever.
We're going to face this coming up. We're going to face this coming up. With the market shift, we have sellers that want to sell, they want that topped up. I'm in a position, Brandy, I need to sell my house. I've outgrown it. I got my 3 kids, getting divorced. I need a new home. I need the funds for this home to buy a new house.
You said you're getting divorced?
Getting divorced, yeah.
Has anything been finalized with the courts yet?
They're almost done. We're copacetic. We're working side by side. We are working together on this. Just with the financial strain. This is for listings, guys. This is for listings coming up because the market shifted, right? So we're looking 6 months down. Brandy, so you called me. I'm in a need to sell my house. We're going through a divorce. We're copacetic. We're not ending on bad terms. We're just not working together. We're going to co-parent together, but we both need the funds of this to buy it.
When will the marriage settlement agreement be filed with the courts establishing the distribution of assets?
So it should be finalized by the end of this month. We're looking to sell, by the end of August. We'd like to be out of here.
Mm-hmm.
However, we're both in a position where we're only going to get 50%. We're okay with that each. But the market has gone down, and we've contemplated just keeping the asset and continuing it as a rent. We would prefer to sell because we're divorced. We want to separate the finances.
So does that mean that you're going to be liquidating your retirement accounts in order to pay for down payments for houses for each of you?
That I don't want to tap into the retirement.
Okay, so where's the down payment going to come from for both of you?
If we get top dollar for our house, so I think our house is worth about $650,000. We owe about $400, so we'd be splitting about $150, so $75 apiece. However, we need to stay in the area, and home prices here, as you know, are in that $650 range. I don't know if we have enough.
Yeah, so let's just take a quick look at that. Hold on just a moment while I make some calculations here.
We're currently in a 6-bedroom house, and
So it looks like you guys are going to net approximately $198,000, and to split that between the two of you is going to be approximately $100,000 each. And that's to sell the home, and if we are able to sell it for $650,000, considering the market conditions right now, would $100,000 be enough for each of you to make that transition for 2 separate households?
So we're in a 6-bedroom right now, and we have 3 children. And I'm just looking at what's on the market right now because personally, I need at least 4 bedrooms and an office area in my house. But what I'm looking for is probably $75,000 under what my house is, just knowing the area, because we're going to stay here then until this community.
Mm-hmm.
So
is the concern really that you're going to sell the house or keep it and rent it? Because you're still going to have to divide the asset with the divorce happening. So I think what's happening here is we need to get a really clear line or train of thought, and we need a clear strategy that both of you agree to. So when will your soon-to-be ex-wife be available for us to all have this conversation together?
So I'll get to that.
Okay.
I keep up with Ryan Lundquist online on the Sacramento Appraiser because I'm not in the industry, I just watch it, especially with what's going on. I want to know, I want to give my lawyer every bit of information that I can on the proceeds of this. And we've seen an uptick in listings, right?
I think what we should be paying more attention to is we've seen a decrease in pending contracts, which bodes for prices coming down.
Okay, and what if I'm not able to sell my house for $600,000?
Then what we would need to do is strategize around what it's going to take for one of you to stay in the home and buy the other person out. So you would have to walk away with $100,000. If your soon-to-be ex is able to refinance it on her own, cash out $100,000 to you, that gives you $100,000 to go buy your next home.
And then what if she's not?
Then will you be able to sustain her? And she moves and finds another.
That may-
Okay, so when, so back to my
Make a lot of
other
bread.
question. Damn. Back to my other question, when will you soon be available to all three of us talk together to work out all of your options and talk through everything in a very detailed way so you have a clear line of sight for what both.
I'm available tonight.
All right. Your wife's available tonight too?
Yeah.
All right.
She's always available.
All right, I'm gonna come meet you and your soon-to-be ex-wife.
Why is she always available, Rich? Why is she always available?
She don't work.
She don't work.
Oh.
So how can she afford to stay in the house?
Yeah, how's she qualifying for that?
I wasn't really quite sure what the objection was.
Yeah,
I still earned the appointment, so
Still did.
I wasn't quite sure what the objection was.
I wanted to get into the market shifting and
So
And-
market shifting and like.
you said, hey, let's meet. I'm like, yeah, you're right. She needs to be here for this, whatever.
Yeah. I know that they are probably recording this, so we're gonna go ahead and hang up. And George, thank you so much for being here today.
Nerd.
Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you
Appreciate
so much. That was awesome. We appreciate you.
Took some notes. Took some notes.
All right, so I don't know who wants to maybe turn off the Zoom call?
Got it.
Oh.
That way it doesn't keep running and running and running.
Jenny
That
watches
was-
it later. She's like, it never ended.
That was one heck of a long class and I loved it.
It was. I know we went over, but that's fine with me.
Yeah, we needed to.
I like it when it's good like